Hello and welcome back to Diary of Fiction. Today I have decided to expose myself and show you all my unread books. All the books that I haven't read that are on my shelves at the moment. Well, not anymore, because I have now rearranged them into this little TBR card. I actually have had this card for a few years now. I had it in college because back then I didn't have enough space to have an actual bookshelf, so this little card was where I put all of my books. And it's been with me for a while, and recently I might have put it in the bathroom for our towels and recently rescued it and brought it back. Anyway, as I was saying, so these are all of my unread books. It's easier for whenever I finish a book and I want to pick up a new one, I can just come here to my TBR card and see what I'm in the mood to read. Also, I want to kindly thank my boyfriend for gifting me a majority of these books because I wouldn't be making this video without him and his support. Yeah, I'm just excited to go through them with you all right now. So over here on the right side, this top shelf is mainly like fantasy, I would say, some dark academia as well. And the first book that we have is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, and this is the third book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which you might recognize this covers maybe, or this covers maybe. These are like the original booktube covers from a while ago, like early 2000s, because this is like one of those like early 2000s young adult series that came out a while ago. And then these are like the newer covers, and then these are the UK editions, which I prefer out of all of them. And yeah, like this is the third book and I haven't read it yet because I tend to procrastinate to read last books in series because I don't want to say goodbye to characters and worlds, especially if I'm really attached to them, which for this book I am. I really did love the first book. I fell in love with it. It was probably my favorite book that I read last year because it was so whimsical, so magical. Then when I got into the second book, like the tone of the story changed and it became a little bit darker, and it just changed how I felt about the trilogy as a whole because it was going in a different direction that I expected it to go. Regardless, I still want to read this third book and I'm still procrastinating to read it. So yeah, this is the first book. Next up we have Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, and this is the book that I started reading in my first vlog on my channel and I did not finish it. That's how far I got. I don't think I was in the right mood to read the story. I think when I read it and it felt a little bit, I could feel that this book was young adult and that the writing was a little bit more young, if that makes sense. It hurt so much because, okay, so this year I've been reading mainly adult books, more mature reads. I've seen my taste kind of start changing. I'm not really gravitating towards young adult as much anymore, but I was a huge fan of The Mortal Instruments and The Infernal Devices when I was younger. So I decided to go back to the Shadowhunters and continue on with all the spin-off series that there are out there. And this is one of them. This is the next one after the Infernal Devices if you read them in like publication order. So this is the next one that I had to read and I always wanted to read but I never got to, and because of nostalgia I picked it up. But again, it felt like the writing, I just wasn't in the mood for this writing. I don't know, it hurts me to say that, but there's a lot of nostalgia associated with the series, so I'm definitely gonna still read it, and I think it was just the right time. I'll go back to it and I think I will enjoy it in a much better time. So yeah, I am excited to go back to the Shadowhunter world though. Like, I miss it so much, and I've heard that the Chain of Iron trilogy is a lot better, so I think that comes after this one, this is the Dark Artifices trilogy. Okay, then we have Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, which is the Penguin Classic edition and also the same edition that Pip was reading on the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder show. She's reading Jane Eyre! But I had been wanting to get this edition for a while, and I have been wanting to read Jane Eyre for a while. It is in my fall TBR, so hopefully I'll get to it. But yeah, I've been wanting to read it since high school, so it's been a long time coming. But I'm glad that I waited again because I feel like I can take my time reading it and I can appreciate the writing style and everything. So Jane Eyre. Then we have Vicious. This is another one in my fall TBR that I am so excited to read. Like, this is probably like the #1 book that I'm excited to read. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time and I cannot wait. I just know that this is going to be one of my all-time favorite books. Like, no pressure, the standard, the bar is high, but I know B. Schwab is going to meet it. I know B. Schwab won't disappoint me with this book. And it's a dark academia book about like, I think like near-death experiences and like supernatural abilities that come out of it. But I think it's about like two main characters who used to be be friends and in the present they aren't anymore, or they're like anti-heroes. I'm not too sure actually. Legendborn by Tracy Dion, another book that is also like sort of dark academia. It has some secret societies, mystery. The main character's mom recently passed away, and when she moves into this new school, she realizes that the society, the secret society Legendborn that's there, might have something to do with it. So that's all I know about it. I also know that there's like a, where is it, like a flying demon feeding on human energies, and I feel like this has been sort of compared to the Mortal Instruments, but better. So I'm curious to see how this is gonna work out. So it looks like it's also like an urban fantasy trilogy. Is it a trilogy or is it a series? I feel like it has more books. We have The Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir. This is another series that I'm currently reading. How many series are you in the middle of? Is it too many? High five. So A Number in the Ashes, a series that I also started reading, was it last year or this year? I'm not too sure, but I absolutely fell in love with it. It's so amazing. Like, this is probably one of the best young adult series I've ever read. Like, if you haven't picked it up yet, pick it up. I think they just changed the covers and more people are gravitating towards it because of the new covers. I think I actually really like these older covers and I want to collect the rest of them. I hope that I can still find them because I got this a month before they came out with the new ones and I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I didn't know there were new ones. But I love Sabaa Tahir. I follow her on Instagram and I really want to read every book that she has out. But this is such a high stakes fantasy series. It will have your heart rate up. It will have your anxiety in the sky. That's why I haven't picked up this, which is the third book, because I feel like I need to be in the right mental space to handle that much anxiety, just because none of these characters are safe. Like, they're not safe. I don't know what's gonna happen to them. The story in itself, it's so amazing and I highly recommend. Hopefully I can talk more about it in a different video and just share more of my thoughts. Next up we have, oh my god, yes, Jade City by Fonda Lee. Like I said, this year I've been reading a lot more adult books and this is a fantasy adult trilogy that I really want to get into because I've heard amazing things. It literally says winner of the world, what does it say? World Fantasy Award. That is so amazing. The description on the back is what really got me. I'll read it to you. Stylish and action-packed, full of ambitious families and guilt-ridden loves, Jade City is an epic drama reminiscent of the best classic Hong Kong gangster films, but takes place in a fantasy metropolis so gritty and well-imagined that you'll forget you're reading a book. I am so freaking excited to read this book. You have no idea. But for me to start a new series while I still have so many series that I need to finish, I always say the Encyclopedia of Fairies just because Emily Wilde is written in such a small font that I always miss it. Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This book is another one in my fall TBR, so I'm looking to read it soon. It's supposed to be like a cozy fantasy. Honestly, the premise of it sounds really heartwarming and like something that I need in my life at the moment. It's about like Emily Wilde and she's gonna go research like fairy history, fairy folklore, write the first Encyclopedia of Fairies, but on her way she's gonna find other things like friendship and love, and it just sounds like such a beautiful story. And the cover is literally the Tinkerbell vibe, the Tinkerbell movie where the dad has like that book about fairies. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, that's what that reminds me of. Inkblot Sister Scribe by Emma Torres, and this is another book that I've had here for a while and I haven't read yet. I've seen it here and there, but I don't hear too many people talk about it. But it has, where is it? It had a blurb. Oh yeah, there you go. It says, a twisty, thrilling fantasy in which both the magic and the characters have real complexity real shadows. If like me, you're a fan of Holly Black and Leigh Bardugo, pick up this book at once. So Holly Black is the author of The Cruel Prince and Leigh Bardugo is obviously the author of Six of Crows and so many other books. So it also says, in this spellbinding debut novel, oh, it's a debut novel, oh, two estranged half-sisters tasked with guarding their family's library of magical books must work together to unravel a deadly secret at the heart of their collection. A tale of familial loyalty and betrayal in the pursuit of magic and power. We love a library of magical books. Looking forward to this. Finally, we have another last book in a series, and this is a series that I've been reading forever. Cinder I read when I was probably like 14, 13. Cinder is the first book, I didn't mention that. Cinder is the first book in this 4-book series. And then a couple years later, I read Scarlet. And then last year I read Crest. So I've been kind of spreading out the series for a while now, and this is the fourth and final book in the Lunar Chronicle series. That's what the series is called. Sorry, I didn't mention that. And it's by Marisa Mayer. And it's such an OG like booktube classic for a reason. It's so good and it stands to this day. When I read Crest last year, it was also one of my favorite books of last year. It was such an amazing book. Each book sort of focuses on a new character that's introduced. So the first book we are following Cinder. It's a retelling of Cinderella, but she's a cyborg and this is a sci-fi world. And then in the second book, you know, it's the same world and the same storylines, but now you're more focused on Scarlet, who draws inspiration from Little Red Riding Hood. And then in the third book, you have Crest, who is supposed to be like Rapunzel, but in space. And then Winter, which is supposed to be, as you can guess by the apple, Snow White. If you really like the found family aspect in a book, I highly recommend. Also, don't get scared about it being sci-fi. I feel like that could turn a lot of people down. Like, I know a lot of people are not huge fans of sci-fi. Maybe I'm just assuming something that's not true. Maybe you are a huge fan of sci-fi. I'm sorry. But it's really, really accessible. I remember reading Cinder when I was like younger and absolutely loving that book. It's one of the books that I have like the biggest memory of my experience reading and how much it actually impacted my reading journey, I guess, because I never thought I would like something like that as much as I did. Once I got to Crest last year, it was just like, it solidified it as one of the best series I've read. And obviously I can't say that until I read this last book, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be an amazing epic ending. I'm just really scared to read it because, again, I don't want to say goodbye to these characters. Don't make me say goodbye to these characters. I'm really sad. What does it say? Oh yeah, Cinder does have a little bit of dystopian aspects as well, which I really enjoyed. It was like dystopian fantasy, sci-fi, everything you love in one. And romance. I did not mention that. There is really beautiful, amazing, stunning romance in the series. Okay, now we finished with the first floor of this book cart. Now we're gonna move on to the second floor, which is more like historical fiction, contemporary. Mainly like those two. I think I'm just gonna pull them out and then show them to you. I could go to the floor, but I feel more comfortable like sitting on the bed. So, alright, so starting here at the bottom, I'm gonna start from right to left, and we actually have a little Halloween. I was gonna say Halloween. A little holiday romance that my boyfriend got for me, which is so exciting because honestly, I've never really read a holiday themed or a book set during Christmas. Like, I've never really read a book like this, and this wouldn't be something that I would buy for myself, so it's really exciting to have this. It's also by Christina Lauren, who is the author of a majority of romance books that I've actually enjoyed. I don't want to say that I'm not a romance reader, but I'm not the biggest romance reader, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really gravitate towards romance like that. I really have to be in the mood for it, and even then I'll pick up a romance book and I'll start reading it and I'll get bored, just because I struggle to read from perspectives of like normal people, because I need escapism and I need something that's not related to reality. So something as far away as reality as possible is what I need. And whenever I'm reading of people and their struggles of every day, I'm like, I don't really need a reminder of all of my struggles as well. So yeah, but this sounds like a very exciting novel because the girl is stuck in a time loop. It says something really beautiful, like, hold on, where is it? Oh yeah, she like makes a wish. It looks like she's like having a really hard time, and then she tells the universe like, please show me something that will make me happy, and then she just keeps reliving the same time and time again. I wonder if it's like her realizing like what's in front of her, if she has to keep living the same day over and over again. A swoon-worthy romance read will make you believe in the power of wishes and the magic of the holidays. I really do love Christmas movies. I'll probably read this closer to winter, so I'm excited. Alright, I had to take a little break. It seems like it's a very hot day today, and whenever I film I have to turn off the AC as well as like close the windows, and for a minute there it was getting quite hard to talk just because of how hot it was inside. So anyway, I had to take a little like break, cool down for a little bit, and now we're back. And I believe we left off this book, which is going to be really funny since I just told you all that I'm not the biggest romance reader, but I bought this book because of the cover and I'm honestly intrigued to read it. And this is Unsteady by Peyton Corin, and This, like I said, was a cover buy, and you want to know why? I had recently rewatched the movie Ice Princess, the Disney Channel original movie Ice Princess, twice the same week that I bought this, because I hadn't seen that movie in so long. Like, it's one of my favorite like childhood movies, but I hadn't seen it in a while, and randomly I was like, wait, I really want to rewatch this movie. Yeah, I actually watched it 3 times, and because of it, I saw this cover and I was like, oh my gosh, like ice skating, romance, sounds perfect. I'm gonna go a little bit quicker now. Tales from the Cafe, which is by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is the second book in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, which is, I believe, a series or a book that I read. Was it last year or this year? I can't remember. But I really love that book. It's such a cozy, very heartfelt, heartbreaking, but also emotional and existential book to read. If you're ever looking for a short story to read, I highly recommend Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It does dive into very heavy themes as well, so I would maybe be aware of that before diving in, because it deals with like grief and other themes. But I can't wait to read the second book and see who we're following, because I think this is going to be like a new set of characters. Then we have a young adult contemporary book that I'm looking forward to reading, because it's the same author of the An Ember in the Ashes series, and this is Sabaa Tahir's All My Rage. As you can see, it has awards in it, and when I went to the bookstore and I got this book, the girl who was working at the bookstore saw me holding this book and she told me, I love that book. I read it in a day and cried the entire day. And I've obviously have been waiting for the right time to read it, just because I know that it's going to be a very difficult read, but nonetheless really excited to read All My Rage. Also, I love when like booksellers just come and talk to you about books. It's like one of my favorite things. We have The Four Winds by Christine Hanna, and Christine Hanna is the same author as The Nightingale, which is one of my favorite books. I've been meaning to pick up this book for a while now, so hopefully I can pick it up soon. And I think that it's set during the Great Depression. I'm really looking forward to reading more Christine Hanna books. Then we have my first ever Octavia E. Butler book. This is Kindred, more of a science fiction book. I've heard amazing praise for Octavia E. Butler, and I really want to read her book, so can't wait to read this. Then we have a very we have The Queen's Gambit, and this is by by Walter Tevis. I'm so sorry, but I watched the show when it came out, absolutely loved it, and my parents gifted me this. I really treasure books that are given to me as gifts. I don't know, and because I love the show so much, I really want to eventually read the book. It's quite short, so it shouldn't take too long, and I'm curious to see like the differences between the show and the movie. If you've read this book, let me know. Then we have The Kite Runner, probably one of the most recommended books out there. A lot of people really love this book. A lot of people call this book their favorite book, so I'm curious to see, you know, what it is about. All I know is that it focuses on friendship, betrayal, and family, and it's a historical fiction, so I'm really looking forward to reading this as well. What else do we have? We have The Measure by Nikki Erlich, and this is a dystopian novel that I had no idea existed before my boyfriend got it for me. So this has a very dark concept, and I would think because of that it would be a very dark and emotional book, but turns out from the description on the back that it seems to be enchanting and deeply uplifting. So let me tell you what the premise is so you understand. So basically it seems like in a random day, like any other day, these characters, I don't know if it's just the characters in the book or everybody, receives a box that tells them the amount of years that they have left. And that just sounds so scary to me. It's one of the most terrifying things ever, and that's why I've been putting this book off. But I'm really curious to see like how it's actually a book about, you know, hope and living life to the fullest. Honestly, it sounds like a book that would probably make me less terrified about that. So if I want something uplifting, I'll definitely pick up this book. Then we have a book that's been translated to Spanish, but in English it's called The House in Mango Street, and this is by Sandra Cisneros. This was a birthday gift from one of my friends. So inside of here I also have like the birthday card that she gave me. I love doing that for books that are gifted to me for birthdays. Like, it's so special to me. But this is a very short story. It's a very well-known book that I haven't read yet, so I'll pick it up hopefully soon. Then we have The Keeper of Hidden Books, and this is a historical fiction about an underground library that existed in World War II. And I don't know too much about it, and I'm really looking forward to reading it just to find out, you know, what it is about. And since it's a book that I've never heard of, I love that, because I'm looking to read books that I don't hear as often and that are less popular or underrated. Next up we have Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazemian, and this was a book recommendation, I believe, by Hannah from A Clock TikTok reader who I've said multiple times is one of my favorite booktubers. But this is a book set in New York City in 1989, and we're following teenagers because it is a young adult contemporary book, and it literally has the most beautiful blurb here in the front. It says, "For warriors, divas, artists, queens, activists, trendsetters, and anyone searching for the courage to be themselves." And that's by Mackenzie Lee, the author of Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I remember hearing a lot about during OG booktube times as well. A man called Ove, or Ovi, I'm so sorry. I know there are like different ways to pronounce this, or, oh no. See, like, is that the UK edition that calls it Odo? Yeah, I think. But this is by Frederick Backman, and he is the same author of Anxious People and Beartown, two other books that I really want to read. I'm not sure if I'm gonna read this first, but I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. This sounds like literally the story of Mr. Fredrickson from Up, and that's why I've been avoiding it, because I have a hard time rewatching Up, because every time I see Mr. Fredrickson, I'm like, someone tell him to sit down, like, have him stop running. I just like want to hug him and tell him that everything's going to be okay, and for him to sit down and not have to do everything that he's doing and take care of himself. Like, I don't know, I have a hard time seeing that movie. So I feel like it's going to be sort of the same feeling with this, except that I've heard that Frederick Backman does like mix like humor and heavy topics in his book, and I feel like this book is just going to be filled with like a lot of life lessons, which it's always nice to have. The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali, and this is probably the most stunning cover that I own. And it also comes with, what are these called? I don't know what these are called. Slips? I'm really looking forward to reading this book, but I just know that it's another one that is going to destroy me, and it's going to be very heartbreaking. All the blurbs on the back literally say grab your tissues, heartbreaking story of star-crossed lovers, and Iran's political upheavals, a layered historical saga of a country struggling toward democracy, and an intimate meditation on a love from which we never recover. The Stationery Shop illuminates how love is experienced over time and influenced by the fingerprints of others. Yet despite every obstacle, the power of heart and memory endures. A beautiful and sensitive novel that I loved from the first page. Evocative, devastating, and hauntingly beautiful, The Stationery Shop explores love's power to transcend time and distance, and the way fate can tear people apart and bring them back together. This book broke my heart again and again. Guys, okay, I'll read it soon. Last two books we have Isabel Allende, and this is Más allá del invierno. She has a lot of her books translated in English, so you probably maybe recognize this if it has the same cover in English. But this is a book set in New York City. My friend gifted me this for my birthday as well, and I am looking forward to reading it. I've never read anything by Isabel Allende. I need to at some point in my life, so. And then last but not least, we have Exit West, and this is by, oh no, like the name of the author faded, so I'll put it down here. But this is a book that I don't know if I've heard too much about it or not. And again, I can't tell you very much because there's no dust jacket. I am really looking forward to reading this and finding out, you know, what it is about. I just know that it has a little bit of magical realism. So, wow, it's so faded. I think there was like some sort of sticker on it and it just got like someone peeled it. Again, looking forward to reading this. I think I said that for every single book, but obviously I'm looking forward to reading all of these books. And then yeah, so those are all of the books that I have on my physical TBR. I am so excited. I am so grateful. I have been in the biggest reading mood this past few weeks. So excited to pick up new books, so excited to find new genres. But I do read a lot of books from the library mainly. That's why I don't have like a ton of physical books. And again, most of these were gifts. But I do try to like read more books from the library, you know, use that as a resource because books can be expensive. And as much as I would love to buy all the books in the world, that's very difficult. So these are all of my physical TBR unread books. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe so you can stay for more videos coming your way, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye!